Hello, welcome to Discussing Tabletop for February 3rd, 2018. Of course, this is our 64th show. Welcome again to my guest. Of course, we have with me Joe Diamond Wyrm. So,
Yep.
Wyrm. We are going to get into an interesting list of topics today. There is a bunch of tabletop news out that we want to talk about. Let's dive into it. First off, we have Skeletons, the newest Freeform RPG. I think it's Bully Pulps who did Fiasco, which is one of my favorite Freeform RPGs. So I want to talk about Freeform RPGs in general a little bit too, and what we think and what we these dungeon tiles. They've put out a what is it mastered? Do they thought? It's weird. They have of dungeon tile.
Reincarnated.
Reincarnated. Yeah. That's what that is. For some reason I was thinking remastered. But reincarnated dungeon tiles. So we want tiles about that. I want to talk a little bit about late pledge Kickstarters. What about them, what we think could be the positives and negatives of these type of things, and a little bit of reflecting on them that way. I do want to touch on that Pathfinder, the new Adventure Path War of the Crown came out, and since we do sometimes talk about the Pathfinder and Pathfinder, I want to sort of hint on where we see this kind of going a little bit, what we think of what they've got so far. And then John Carter has a quick venture rather than rules out, which is very interesting. John Carter of Mars the RPG by Modifius, which I think is technically actually on Kickstarter now. I don't know over yet, but it was up on Kickstarter. So that's actually a little different than the Quickstart rules we normally see. We normally might have they put all that kind of thing. Modifius is really great. But we'll talk about what?
It still has 8 days left.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then we'll dive into segments to finish up the day, of course, with our Kickstarter Korner, our week in gaming, and ask the table. So why don't we dive into our first topic, which I had, which was skeleton, or skeletons, was it? Let me check that because I couldn't see. I like to see eyelashes under the end of things.
It's skeletons.
See, I was correct the first time, but I wasn't going to be adding that S just in case. If you don't know about it, Skeletons is a new freeform RPG. Freeform is just to start finding them. Those are oftentimes use very little dice. They're more like us a couple of people talking discussing with each other, building the story that way, and developing the entire world in a kind of cooperative mannerism. So Skeletons is of course the latest one out by Bully Pup Games, who game on Fiasco, which, as I said in our link, Fiasco is one of those ones I love a lot. Where you take kind of a scenario, everybody builds their own roles, builds like a location, and then everybody kind of plays out the building of the game and world. So I have played freeform before, with Feast. And Skeletons is a freeform one for 1 to 6 players that it's made to flip the script on classic dungeon crawl. You're the guardians of a temple, and you're sort of defending a tomb for all eternity. And as time passes, the guardians change. You can win battles, lose them, and the skeletons are slowly beginning to remember who they once were, basically. And that's the point of it. It's sort of like you're getting that melancholy of learning your past life kind of things. They do have a printed version of 60 pages and a 69 game booklet that's got all the basic rules and some variant game play to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which does? Oh, yeah,
okay,
this looks interesting. I love the concept. The concept's really cool, and it almost could be fun to honestly make an actual campaign around this concept.
Yeah.
That would actually be very interesting to have a one-shot or an episodic RPG with this. One thing that I'm confused about is you said it was 1 to 6 players. Where's the players? And I'm like, how do you do 1 player for freeform RPG? That sounds very... this is 1 to 6 players. This sounds really boring.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do that.
I'm not sure how you would do 1 player in a freeform RPG. Yeah. What are you playing against then? What is you doing to develop it? It's like, I can see it possibly because then it's storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, at that point,
Then
just
you're
go
telling yourself
write
a
write
story.
a book. Write a short story.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a room telling yourself a story.
Yeah.
Might be good for someone who just has multiple personalities.
And you can download the character sheets. They do include character sheets and PDFs and stuff like that. They have a soundtrack. They talk about actual play on their site. They have a lot of stuff for it. And I do have to say, again, Bully Pop Games, they've done very good. Fiasco is a very fun one, and they do a lot of... I'm not sure if they all do freeform games, but they do a lot of games, so they are a good company, at least, you know? But, you know, and that's the thing, is, like, as you were saying, Wyrm, is beyond being a freeform game that might be interesting to try, the entire concept behind it's a very interesting one. I've played games where we're the villain, and that's one thing. Being the villain, you know, or being evil, you know, trying to become a villain, those are interesting campaigns to do. But we don't see a lot of, like, adventure campaigns in any kind of RPG where you're like, you're the mook in this dungeon to start out with, you know? And then building your way from there. And the entire concept that, you know, like, yes, as time goes on, maybe you start remembering your actual past life, you know, before you were, you know, the skeleton guarding the tomb. That's kind of cool. And
Yeah.
I'm interested how they actually play that out, you know. That's one of those things about the entire game. I'm tempted to, you know, at some point listen to what they have for the actual play, which they have like some two-part things where you can listen in.
Also, if you notice my camera shifting around, that's because I just realized that I was like, I'm kind of yellow. Is that the lighting in my room? No, I just realized that the white balance was turned on to auto on my Skype for no apparent reason.
Ah.
That's always wonderful.
Yeah, Skype turning things on for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jesus, I didn't know they did this game. Just randomly checking some stuff. They apparently had The Warrens, which is a game about intelligent rabbits in a savage world. So it's Watership Down. It's Watership Down, the game they've also done. They do a lot of weird games. Okay. Bully Pop Games, I give you that much. You do a lot of, like, really strange, out there stuff, and cool. So, good on you for going in odd directions. But what else? So, is there anything else I've actually... I don't know if I've got anything else to actually, like, kind of, like, dive into this one. It would be interesting to try out, and, you know, the concept, as I said, is a very cool one, because, like, definitely, other than just using this one here, I could see on the other end, you know, in an actual role-playing game going on in this, like even in Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder, taking on the role of, like, you know, I'm the mook in the dungeon, and, you know, we have to deal with heroes and stuff, you know. I think the last time I did an evil game involving a dungeon, it was with you, Joe, and we were basically taking a pre-existing place and designing traps in it and stuff like that, which was an interesting thing. But it ended up being management simulator, which I didn't mind, but some of us did.
I didn't mind it. It was definitely interesting, but I like the twist on this one with that, you know, like, you're starting to remember your old life and everything.
That's a very interesting twist.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what more I could say on it without, you know, trying it out.
Yeah, that's the only problem, is, like, there's this need to almost try it out, to dive deeper into it at this point in time. But, I mean, if I want to use my reflection of experience with freeform RPGs, the only thing is you have to be careful who you play with if you're going to do any of those. And that's an advice I'm going to give, because I did want to generally talk about freeform a little bit. Like, I've had an experience with a couple of people that was really great with a freeform RPG. And then I had an experience with some people in Fiasco, and it went terribly.
Yeah, I think the only The only experience I have with it is when we did it at the cabin the one time.
Yes, and that went all right. I think that was the middle ground of the two. There was some problems, but I think there was also problems in the way that we set things up too. We didn't set the game up completely correctly, and it created problems in the way that we were doing the incorrect. You know, it created unnecessary tension early on, which spread throughout the game, and caused a lot of difficulty that way. While like the other game, it was just someone wasn't having a great time, I guess, and so they went off the rails because it was a different kind of game than they liked. You know, it was more of a mechanics-driven person. So you need actual people that are willing to dive into their character. You know.
Yes, it's definitely an interesting way of playing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I won't get into unnecessary stories right now because I might have told them of my the game of fiasco I had where I played a half Italian, half Russian bastard of like some mobster who had to who's trying to like get into the mob, and two of the people were playing these like two club owners to this like I think it was a gay bar in 70s New York, and there was like a body hidden in the one wall, and all these kind of weird misadventures going on there, you know. It's like I was trying to they were trying to hide the body while I was trying to become an up-and-coming gangster by leaning on them, kind of thing, you know. It ended up being very fun.
Yeah.
So.
But no, I agree with these kind of games. Like, you have to be very careful who you play with. I have a very mechanics-driven friend who I would not play, and then I have also a very mechanics-driven group of friends who I honestly don't want to play RPGs with them at all. Period. Let alone a freeform one.
Yeah, you get people that you're like, don't want to play with them anymore, and I know that feeling where you're like,
very fun group to play board games with, not RPGs.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So Skeletons is available now. You can check it out. You get it directly from Bully Pulp. There is a print version if you want a printed out version, or you could get a PDF. So, all right, why don't we move on in the topics? D&D's Dungeon Tiles. That's the next topic I wanted to kind of hit on here. So they put out Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated, which, I mean, it seems it's a very epic name for something so simple. The only thing I really have to say about
but it's true. I like, this has been something, it was a I don't have him here with me, do I? It was a challenge to get freaking Dungeon Tiles when I was playing, IRL with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, D&D stopped producing their Dungeon Tiles.
Yes.
And they're finally bringing them back. And I'm just like, thank you. Why did it take you this long?
And that's another thing, is like, as much as I've talked about all the stuff that Pathfinder does, I haven't actually gotten any kind of the map packs or any kind of stuff like that from Pathfinder. Back in the day, I got a bunch of the Dungeon Tiles for D&D, and I've used them here and there. They're actually really useful. So, and the thing is, I would like to see these definitely, and to see what kind of stuff is really in them, because I know in that one it was a lot more like generic pieces that you could sort of build your own rooms out of in different sizes. And this one, I feel like they're aiming more for having different, yes, we have some caverns, corridors, tunnels, and other terrain elements, but we also might have some rooms, and some maybe pre-built rooms would be cool.
Well, it looks like there's 3 different packs. There's City, Dungeon, and Wilderness.
Yes.
Yep, which is the generic 3. That's actually the same 3 they started with for their first edition.
Yeah.
Rendition.
And they are 16 double-sided, fully illustrated tile sheets, which effectively is a great way of saying it's a big cardboard thing where you punch out stuff, and each thing you punch out has 2 sides to it.
Hold on.
2 sides.
And they're no different from before.
Are they really no different from before? They're just the same packs came back?
I just looked, this is Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated album on Imgur. I just found it.
Uh-huh.
And that's the same fountain of the one that I have that I bought forever ago. Okay, the Wilderness has some extra stuff. The Wilderness has some desert. Okay, so it's like the old Plus. They've got extra options in each.
Okay.
So it's basically like the old packs plus more.
So they basically took their old packs, maybe like refurbished the art a little bit, added in some new stuff, and they're like, we've come back with them, back to the forefront. And that's actually not a bad thing, because the last tile packs would have probably been back in a different edition even, too. Wouldn't it have been by now?
Honestly, I think the last ones were, if not 4, then 3.5. Like 3.5.
Because I remember the 3.5 ones, but...
I think there was some in 4.
There probably
I think they continued producing them into 4, but I think they started in 3.5. Or 3 and 3.5.
Yeah, and if you consider, like, most of the sheets, like, if I'm going to hold something up here, is, like, if you've seen a standard book size is, like, the size of the sheets, and you have a lot of, like, rooms and stuff popped into them. So 16 double-sided pages of stuff is not a...
Even the boxes look the same.
I think
the boxes they come in.
That's probably on purpose.
They are reincarnated.
Yeah,
they are. Okay, yeah. So they literally took the old things and just added to them. That's all they did, which isn't bad, but it's a little. Well, to be fair,
I guess it's because like 5th edition has had some resurgency, rather than like it's rather than just reprinting the old ones, they're putting out sort of the new things, so a lot of new players can get them and stuff too. I'm assuming.
And I will link this gallery to you guys. Actually, I'll link it in the Twitch chat so people can look at them.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, those are like... the boxes are pretty much just the same. Oh, yeah! Yeah, yep. I think I got one of these originally. I got, like, the dungeon one originally, because I have one of these, like, cardboard boxes like that.
Yep.
You know? Oh, man, look at the... Yeah, those tiles are pretty cool.
I think Poirier has all of them, too.
Yeah, I have all 3 of these of the original. And in fact, I have 2 wildernesses because the people who sent it to me screwed up and gave me 2 wildernesses. I complained and got a new... and got an extra, and got basically, without sending it back, they gave me the... Actually, sorry, it got lost in the mail for a long time. And so I said, like, it never came. I got a new one, but then it came after, like, a month or 2. Wow. So it got lost in the mail, but I eventually got it. So I actually got 2 wilderness ones.
The big thing I have to say about this one, from looking at Dungeon A at least, is that I don't have any curved pieces in my set.
Yeah, I like the curved pieces are definitely new.
Yeah,
that is definitely new. But they have definitely some of the old things, like some of the pits, the stairs, that little circle. I feel like the dungeon tiles have the most new stuff. The pure dungeon tiles.
Yeah.
Because while I see the bookshelves, the pit, the bed, I also see the curved tiles, the stairs, the caves. The caves were its own pack last time.
Yeah. And now you can have a bunch of the caves together with it.
And the big noticeable thing about the wilderness one is, the bridges look nicer. The bridges in the first one were just straight bridges. Whereas this, they have the bridges, they refurbished them. The deserts look. They have the deserts in addition now too.
Oh, a little bit of like, it looks like maybe marsh or swamp too, in the wilderness, towards that middle.
Yeah.
I think that's just like some of they just revamped the river parts a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there were river things, they just look like very straightforward, whereas those look like they have, algae and vegetation in them.
Is the city, is that sewer?
Yeah, that's sewer.
That's sewer.
The sewer did exist, but it was very minimal. They added more sewer tiles.
Okay. So
that's one thing. They added a couple more interesting wall tower pieces.
Yeah.
And they kept a lot of the other pieces the same.
Who doesn't love a good sewer?
Yep.
These are actually really cool and kind of tempting, actually, now, because
if I ever go and do a real game again, I'm definitely buying these.
Yeah. Like, I don't have a chance to do a lot of it physical in-person games, but maybe, like, these would be very convenient. Like, that's the thing, is, like, just coming up with a quick map with a couple of these tiles would not be a bad thing in my mind, Just be like, I'll need some dungeon today. What kind of room shape are we doing? I'll throw a bunch of tiles together. Let's see what we get.
Yeah. I mean, if they ever offer it, though, through, like, Roll D20 or something.
They might, because Roll20's connections and stuff, how they've been adding a lot of that stuff in.
Yeah, so that might be a place to actually get it and then use it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I'm probably going to stick to Gabriel Picard's stuff, but still, not bad.
It's fine. It's fine. It's acceptable. You know, there's definitely a lot of people that have some really good stuff on Roll20 too. But no.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about in life, these are very good. And
also, that guy's really chill, and I basically just like email them, hey, can I use your stuff on Twitch? So because don't want to get have issues with copyright, and he's like, yeah, sure, totally, dude, do what you want. I'm like, okay.
Cool.
So super nice about it.
Well, I'm sure he also looks at it. It's kind of free advertising.
It really is, especially since he was so nice about it. I'm totally willing to just go, hey, Gabriel Picard, go buy his stuff. He's a chill dude.
So Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated, it's definitely something to check out if you're doing an in real life game and you want something like map building. And as I said, it might not be like, if you're not very good at the map building side, just grabbing one of these dungeon packs, and if you just want to like throw something out together very quickly, do like a puzzle pieces. Like, say to yourself, I'm going to grab like 7 pieces and build a room out of it, kind of thing, and there you go.
Or do what I did when I did real life games and build it ahead of time, take a picture of it, and then reference the picture when you're rebuilding it with your friends.
That's always a good one too. That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, sorry, stretching.
Yeah, I do really like maps, so I like them in real games and online games, because if you haven't noticed, with my game that I do with you guys, I definitely like my maps.
You do like your maps, and I'm accepting of that. I'm not a big map person when it comes, because I'm not as good with building them in Roll20. I take way too long at this point in time.
I have programs outside of it, so because actually that's the other thing is like I have programs outside of Roll20, because if you just build it in Roll20, it starts to get really laggy when it gets bigger. Whereas otherwise you just build it and then upload it as like a JPEG, and then it's like super small file size, and it doesn't take forever to load.
Oh, I'll have to look into that, definitely. But anyway, but that's different conversation for day. And
that is.
Yes. But Dungeon Tiles.
Also, after you've bought a pack, Roll20 allows you to download it.
That's cool.
So that's I get my stuff on Roll20, download it, build it elsewhere, upload it back to Roll20.
That is cool.
Yeah. So, Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated is out now. If you need Dungeon Tiles for your example or for your adventures, this might be the way to go. D&D has always done some really good tile sets, and these are very good ones. Dungeon, Wilderness, and City. $25 each, and that's not a bad price for what you're getting for them, definitely. So, check it out. All right. Why, of course, do we not move on to our next topic for today? I want to talk about late pledge Kickstarters. Now, I should get some caveats on this entire thing right now. When I'm talking about late pledge Kickstarters, I'm not talking about, okay. A Kickstarter goes, it comes, it ends. Normally then, there's a time period, the product comes out, everybody get the product. What late pledges does is effectively like, for those people that have missed it, you can get in there and you can pledge for something. They basically offer you something, usually not on Kickstarter, usually they have it somewhere else, where you can be like, you can go through their PayPal or something to give them a donation, to give them some money. And you might not get the same kind of deals as you would for the Kickstarter, but you might get some of those Kickstarter exclusives still. And it might give you some different options. So that's an interesting thing. So on a simple level, yeah, it sounds cool. It sounds helpful for everyone. And that's not what I'm really diving in this about. I know on the base level, as soon as I talk about that sounds good. But I want to talk about, yes, why would it be good and why might it be bad today, really? So my entire thought process is, okay, good part of this entire thing, yeah, I could get into a Kickstarter that I maybe missed out on. Maybe I didn't see about it until after it was done. So it's like, oh, this one is really cool. It was successfully funded. Maybe they want to get some more stretch goals, more backing, more stretch goals. They maybe could add a few more in if they get some late pledges. They could be working on the game and still have this open period. On the other hand, if depending on what they're offering, I could see it as being, it's just a way to get a little bit more cash. If they're not doing any late pledges, and I'm sure because most people that are on Kickstarter, you're not just funding something to fund something. You're going to earn a little bit too. Even if it's not a huge amount, basically, there's a percentage that's going to you for life. Or maybe to even start other stuff, Maybe I want to start some other Kickstarters, things like that. There's always a portion of the funding that's not just to the game, period. So the question with the late pledges is, you might not have the same percentage on the late pledge anymore. Because they might charge you more because you're late, for one thing. And then, again, it's what are they offering for the late pledge? So I can definitely see there's two sides of the coin there, and just in general. What do you guys kind of think with how I'm talking about this here?
So, okay, if there's a little bit... So I have a couple things about Kickstarters that always bother me. Mm-hmm. And that's if you don't get the if you don't have the funds at the Kickstarter, you're going to miss out on things. I've never been someone who liked that. Day one DLCs that you have to pre-order the game for. Hate those. Mm-hmm. And similar concepts, it's kind of like, well, maybe I'll get this someday when I have money, but I'm going to miss out on, like, this big expansion pack that they only gave to people who backed them for, like, $400. It's like, well, when I actually have the money in the future, it'd be nice to have those. And so, anyway, that's just my opinion on Kickstarters in general when it comes to those kind of things, but it's kind of like, well, that late backing gives you a little bit of extra time to get those kind of things. If you, let's say get some money or, you get a new job or something, you're like, oh, I can upgrade my thing, or I could, oh, now I can pay for this. It's kind of a, I don't know, nice delay for someone, or I'm waiting for my paycheck or blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Whereas, I don't know about the whole Kickstarter side of it. Like, oh, do they charge you more for late stuff? Is it, there's obviously, whenever there's money involved, you always got to look at the fine print. But, it's like, oh, well, maybe I don't get as, does the backer not get as much? Does the Kickstarterer not get as much?
Well, I'm pretty sure, because from what I've seen for most late pledges, they're no longer associated with Kickstarter. So, for one thing, I know a percentage has to go to Kickstarter, like a tiny percentage, is fees to them.
Yeah.
So, we're cutting that out when we come to late pledges, it seems, most of the time. It's usually seeming like some kind of external link to some other kind of way to pay,
Yeah, no, totally, 100% for this. If they get funded, Kickstarter already did their part. Then if more people want to do it, you're free to do your thing. I don't see any problems with this.
Which, I mean, I don't see any problem on that end. Not at all. That end of like, okay, if you want to get some more funding, the reasoning behind the more funding, that can be a little up in the air. That's why I always say. Well, that's why I'm like thinking like maybe you should look at it too. Do they offer all the pledges? Are the pledges the same price as they were? Maybe they have like a huge ton of Kickstarter exclusives that if you still pledge into it, you can get them. That what might never appear again. I don't know. Then that'd be cool. But then even if it's just like, here's the game, you can also still pledge on it. It's more expensive. I mean, that's what I worry about. That you have to maybe look at the Kickstarter also and see, if I'm getting like shafted a little bit, in this entire transaction.
I would say as long as they're offering at least some, if not most, of the, exclusives and stuff, then it's definitely worth it. It's something. It's like, oh wow, I didn't hear about this till late, or I really wanted to do this, but I didn't have the cash at the time. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
To still be able to get in on it. And even if they raise the price a little bit, okay, they're already funded, so this is probably going to be the price that they're selling it at, instead of just, because a lot of times the Kickstarter price is going to be cheaper than what the board game is going to be itself.
Yeah.
Just so they can raise the money to get it up and running. So that I wouldn't have a problem with. But if it's just, oh, you get a copy of the game, well, I probably can get that at a store at that point.
Or at least ways, because most of the time these people will at least put it up on their site or something. You could be like, I'll watch their website till they formally release it. It's probably going to be the same price then. And,
Right.
I don't have to wait for it and hope for the best. Because, I mean, yes, it's funded for Kickstarter, but, even funded Kickstarters can sometimes have problems. And that's a problem in the nature of Kickstarter. We've seen that. So, it's like, yes, we can tell you, go in on a funded one if you really love it. There's still a percentage chance that something could go wrong along the process, So, yeah. I guess, yes, it's, what do they offer? What is the late pledge offer?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have any problems with the idea in general. It's more, case to case, there may be some issues, but
yeah,
in general, Kickstarter did their part, keeping them out of the loop after they've, helped these, because that's the thing is with Kickstarters, like, they made their money, they help, it's a percentage. If they want more, if anything, what you're paying Kickstarter for is the publicity, because searching things on Kickstarter is really easy.
Right.
Whereas just trying to find something to back, without something like Kickstarter is really hard.
Yeah. No. And I agree. That's definitely a portion of it that I have no problem with. The entire, yes, Kickstarter's done their part. We're done with it. We're off on our own doing it. That's fine. That's a fine thing if they want to try to get some more money somehow. And, I've also seen, I remember there was a Kickstarter that I went in on that at the time I couldn't go through Kickstarter because I did not have access to a credit card, I think is what I needed. But I did have a PayPal account for my bank account. And so the one Kickstarter allowed me to go in through PayPal. So I wasn't formally on the Kickstarter, but I still got the stuff in the end, which was really cool and helpful for them. And I got to, I actually got communications with them. So I could see that sometimes that actually still occurs also. Like, you can see sometimes the Kickstarters are like, funding raised through Kickstarter, funding raised through other sources. They'll say that too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so late pledges, I think what we're kind of hinting on here with the entire discussion here is that it's not necessarily a bad thing if you see a late pledge. It's probably going to be, in general, a good thing. But just go for it, even if it looks cool. Think about it, take a look, analyze it a little bit, yes, it's something that's funded, but is it worth it just to grab it now? Will you get something really good for it? Or is it better just to wait? Because sometimes it is. Yep. And getting back to your original thing, I do agree. I do like it when people publish Kickstarter exclusives eventually. Like some of those things, I like how some of the board games that were Kickstarters originally puts out like an expansion of, here's all the Kickstarter stuff together in one expansion. You can get it now. I really like those games, that do that.
Yeah, I'm personally someone who thinks that, honestly, if a game puts out day one DLC or not even day one DLC, but DLC, pre-order DLC that you can only get by pre-ordering or special things, honestly, I become instantly 50-50. I might just completely boycott this game because I hate that concept that much.
Oh no, I agree with you. That's an entirely different quagmire. The quagmire of the video game industry is
but some Kickstarter things do very similar. Here's this thing which is very nice for the game that you'll only get if you kickstart us.
Right.
And I think that's a problem that people have learned from the video game industry.
To be fair, though, it gets some people happy because they feel exclusive. They get that exclusivity kind of feel, like, oh yeah, I got this, I'm the elite. And so it actually is, some people love it.
Yeah.
I think video game industry is where it kind of hurts the most, because especially AAA games where it's I'm okay with, an indie game sometimes giving for all the people who bought us early when we were in development, have this little extra thing.
Yeah.
That's usually more okay, but those AAA games that try and say pre-order our game, it's so you're asking me to buy your game ahead of time before I know anything about it, so I can get this thing that is
may or may not be really cool.
I think the best way that I heard to describe it is, since pre-orders can go into something like 24 to 12 hours beforehand, wait until then.
Yeah.
Pre-order at like 12 hours, like right at the cusp of when the pre-orders end. Order it then, so you get the bonus, and you buy then, you know everything about it. Also, I think my big complaint about launch day DLC is it used to be a feature in a game.
Yeah.
That's AAA.
Launch date DLC, though, is a little bit different. I shouldn't have used that term. It's more the pre-order special stuff.
Well, yeah, the pre-order stuff can also be stuff that used to be stuff in games, like special costumes and stuff that you can unlock. Like if we look at no, we're getting into a different conversation.
Yeah, we're getting into
and I can complain about the video game industry as much as I can complain about a bunch of other industries. So
don't even get me started on EA.
That's we have this can of worms. It's a really big can of worms. We were peeking at the edge. We're like, no, keep it closed. God, EA.
You don't want worms all over the place.
We don't want an explosion of anger. Anyway, why don't we move on, though, because we do have a couple more topics I want to handle before we finish up the show. I do want to talk about War of the Crown, the new adventure path from Pathfinder. I just want to go over a little bit about what we kind of think about what they have so far. We don't know a lot about the War of the Crown as the entire series is going to play out. You know, the War of the Crown, usually the name gives you a pretty big hint.
Did he freeze?
No.
No.
I froze because of chat.
Yes. I was thinking that, but I wasn't going to go there.
I decided to go there and chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we don't want worms all over the place.
Anyway, yeah, so we don't know a huge bit about the actual overall arcing story yet. Because, usually they're good against keeping that stuff under wraps. But it seems to be based around this idea of the battle for a major city's rulership.
Taladin.
Yeah, Talador.
Or Talador, sorry. Yeah, I can speak today.
Yeah, it's fine. And our first adventure starts out with, senators and nobles trying to steer away from a disaster that's kind of going on with conspiracy. And your heroes escape from the Forgotten Halls beneath the Senate to save the heir of Talador from an assassin's blade. Cool. And you try to prevent civil war, which I'm guessing you don't. Civil war breaks out. I'm sorry, it's called the War for the Crown. I'm pretty sure it's all about your adventures navigating a civil war in one of the major cities in Galeria.
Okay, I think everything can be summed up with the cover.
Uh-huh.
Look at the king on the cover. I'm sending the link.
Yeah. I just had to click on the thing because I already had it open, but it's just like,
Do you want him ruling you?
No. I mean, it's not even like, he doesn't even look like it's not even an issue with like, he looks like an evil king. Nah, he just looks like a king that's like, I've been doing this since I was 2. I enjoy the drugs that I get for free. I let my advisors do all the ruling, and I just don't care.
I don't know what he's smoking there.
Whatever it is, it's got to be some good stuff.
Yep. Or some bad stuff. Especially just the look on his face.
I guess
on his face.
True. It could be some really bad stuff he's just got into. Yeah, currently for the other 5 adventures, they have some basic information about them, and they have the pre-pictures. Because I've noticed this with the Adventure Pass. They always have like an early picture of what all the books look like, and then they have a finalized one, which is really interesting. But anyway, yeah, so War of the Crown, it started now. Navigating a civil war does seem like an interesting idea for an adventure. Because I don't think I've seen a lot of, like, war in Pathfinder as of yet. Like, in third-party supplements that me and Joe did, we had war. We never did the war, but we had it. It had some basic rules.
I have one interjection.
Uh-huh.
He looks like a Persian version of Rasputin.
All right. Persian Rasputin. Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah.
It seems like War for the Crown 2 is going to be something about like sabotage.
Yeah, Songbird Science Saboteur.
It also says like, can the heroes infiltrate high society of Marat County and through the extravagant balls and tournaments, while secretly undermining the court Bartley's Lortheed's authority, or the clandestine attempts to repair damage done.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, and allies ultimately lead to their headsman's blade.
Well, that's actually really kind of an interesting idea that you're infiltrating high society in Adventure 2. Wow. Man. No,
Yeah, I mean, it looks fun though.
Yeah, it looks like they're... I think that's one of the things I like about the Pathfinder Adventure Pass, is they always come up with a very interesting theme for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's because it's a campaign theme rather than an adventure theme, which is very different than, you know, what most, like, books I'm going to get, you know? Like, I do have to say, like, D&D does very good campaigns in general, but they have, like, it's a very different thing. Like, if I pick up Curse of Strahd, it is a campaign, but it's a different kind of campaign than these, definitely. And I think Pathfinder has kind of found their niche to a degree, that they do things a little different. And I'm looking forward to seeing how, like, all these adventures, when we get a little bit more information, when they're finally being released and stuff, play out a little bit more. Because right now we only have their, like, this is our blurbs of, like, what we're planning out. So...
Yeah, I mean, overlooking all of them, it looks like you're basically going to be setting up a new regime.
Yeah. It's the rightful heir, thank you very much. We'll just go along with that. That's the rightful heir. Civil War my ass. We're going to take over.
I hope not. I don't want any Civil War in your ass.
I mean, isn't that, you know... No. It's... You opened that up for some kind of thought pattern that I'm going to walk away from right now.
Yeah, but honestly, it may be possible to subvert a civil war in the first one, assuming that the civil war is more like there's rebels trying to do a thing, and it's like, well, what you're trying to do is prevent there from being a full bloodshed rather than a partial bloodshed of, you know, rebels versus...
Yeah, that's what it sounds like where you're getting into the second adventure, just by the start of it, is like, you managed to prevent, like, the open combat, but there's still something boiling beneath the surface, you know, and you're basically attempting to, like, oh, this is a major player that's an enemy to the heir apparent, you know, and you're basically honestly, subverting them.
Yeah, and honestly, something like this is something I've always wanted to set up for a group, is where there's very clear side, almost like, you know, Skyrim War, where it's like, you have the, you know, the two sides, and it's like the players can kind of dictate how things go, and that would be kind of cool.
I'm also still looking at that first cover, and are they fighting books with legs and tongues?
Now I have to see that again.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Are those, like, horrible mimic books or something?
That's what I'm thinking, that there's some kind of mimic.
That's a great idea. Mimic books.
Look, the mimic door was a great idea also. I'm gonna open the handle. My hand is stuck. Oh no.
Yeah, again, like, when it comes to mimics in my game, I'm probably not, you know, it's like I need to include one, but it's like, how? Without the players then A, never trusting me ever again, and B,
because you want it to be surprising, but, like, an unusual surprising, so you don't, like...
A mimic book would be a horrible thing for a wizard.
Oh my god. The poor wizard.
You see this large wizard's book on the center stand. Do you go for it?
Yes, of course I do. Oh my god!
It's eating my hand off!
This is quite unpleasant. Good times. Mimic book, good times. So, we'll keep an eye on more of the Crown as it comes out more. I think, you know, with the way we've been doing things, I might have us talk about it a little bit more when the last one comes out in July, you know, by then.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll know a little bit more. Because, you know, this is kind of a tempting one to maybe look into maybe running sometime, too. I want to run some adventure paths at some point. I do. I love the adventure paths, and I just haven't figured out when or how, you know. So... Anyway, let's move on to our last main topic of today. John Carter Mars has a free Quickstart adventure for Mophidius. Adventures on the Dying World of Barsoom. So
yet another Quickstart.
Yeah, the Quickstart stuff is really cool. And this is a little different because rather than like Quickstart rules, they're like Quickstart adventure. All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
with like little miniatures and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure because I didn't actually read through this Kickstarter. I just opened it up.
Well, I'm on Modifius's site where you can get the Quickstart adventure.
Yeah, but it's like you can download the Quickstart for free, but then they also have like this, you know, adventure for it.
Yeah,
which is kind of like, which I assume is kind of like the D&D Minds of Vendelver. Is what I assume this is supposed to be like.
Yeah, which is an interesting take for a Quickstart direction, because it's like it's taking like what we would have in the beginner's book of in the beginner's box of D&D and making it its own thing, which let me what was I going to say? You know, I've seen from some Quickstart stuff, they normally have something. You know, they might have a little miniature adventure. So I'm curious to, like, maybe get this and take a look at how big of an adventure they actually offer.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second here. I'm actually trying to do that right now. What the heck was my password for Modifius? Dang it. And am I using the right email?
The answer is maybe.
Probably not. Anyway, I'll get back to that in a second. But I think it as much as the Quickstart rules are a very interesting take. They really are, because it's sort of like here's the rules that we have you provided for, you know, here's everything, there you go, you know, awesome. Maybe here's a little bit of adventure suggestions, where you can go with adventures and things like that. A larger, like, just an actual adventure, like the Mines of, I mispronounce their name every time, the Mines of Felagros or whatever they are. I butcher that name. But anyway, the one that's in the beginner's box for D&D is a much larger adventure. There's like parts to it. It offers you a lot more. It's a lot more in-depth, which I liked very well.
Well, my point is they have the Quickstart rules, and they're kickstarting something along with the Quickstart rules, which seems to be like this supplement thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Should I link that, or do you
Sure.
have it open? Yeah, because it's like Kickstarter. This is, yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. They have like this thing.
Let's take a look.
Unless I'm just completely wrong on what this is, but
well, yeah,
this is
their Kickstarter seems to be the main thing that they're going on with right now, and this is like something they're coming out with.
Because they have the Quickstart rules like link in this. I don't know if this is supposed to just be some sort of module, or if this is, because it seems like they're pushing the Kickstarter at the same time.
Uh-huh. It seems like the book here, The Adventures in a World of Barsoom, The Dying World of Barsoom, does indeed include like the basic Quickstart rules that we've seen before, you know. So it's like,
yeah.
So now we're also including a like much larger.
Like it's a full. This is a full adventure path, but what you can download for free is like a sample of it.
Yeah,
like maybe a first mission or something. The full book looks awesome, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
it seems like this is supposed to be like an adventure that you can play like early on.
yeah.
So yeah, this because this is what I was looking at. I noticed that quick start, but then I ran into this as well, so I was just kind of like, huh.
Yeah. Phew, that's very interesting. That
Yeah.
they kind of put it together like this. That they're aiming more for being a, what's the best way I want to say this? That they're sort of mimicking a little bit of that, you know, beginner's box with D&D,
Yeah.
but you know, offering it for free too is one of those things. It's like, oh, yeah, free.
Yeah, it's like, hey, sample our system if you like it. Then you can, kickstart the full version.
Yeah.
And like I said, that the book cover is amazing looking.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't get it right now. I don't know why I'm not being able to sign in.
Anyway.
Modifius is having trouble right now. I've been trying it for a bit. I'm having trouble getting it in, so whatever. I'll just do that for now. Whatever. Fine, be smart. I don't care. I can be smart.
Can you? Can you really?
So, you say you don't have an account with that email address, yet that's the email address that I used to log on to you before.
Haha!
Alright, anyway.
Yeah, so they're trying to do stuff with this Mars, John Carter of Mars stuff right
They
now.
definitely are trying to promote it very big because that's, I guess, because it's the Kickstarter, it's their new IP, so to say, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they have done... Actually, they do both Conan and Star Trek, so they've done really good things.
Conan Trek.
Well, like people, I don't hear as much about the Conan adventures like being like great or terrible, but I know people love their Star Trek adventures that they've done.
From what I understand, people either like Conan or they don't. It's kind of just like, Conan. It's either like people, oh yeah, I love Conan, or it's not for me.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's like people absolutely hate it or people like go, this is the best role-playing game ever. You know, I've never, like there are people with like, let's say World of Darkness who have this like elite mentality. I haven't seen that with Conan before.
Yeah. I know Tales from the Loop was very cool, and a couple other their RPGs are very cool. So I mean, they have a good track list.
Yeah.
Of things. And so if you were looking into the Kickstarter, which is technically ongoing now still, is it? Let me just check.
Yes, 8 days to go. It has
go.
1,558 backers. And they've blown out their goal of 28,245. They're at 209,938.
Of course
They
are.
still have a number of stretch goals left, though.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because like a big company, they planned for that.
Yes, because that's in...
They've only got one of their stretch goals. No, never mind. I'm not.
They've gotten most of their stretch goals. They only have like 5 left.
Yeah.
It's 148 pounds, or is it euros?
Pounds.
So they are at they have got 1, 2, 3, 4 of their stretch goals left because it's in the pounds for that one. They technically just unlocked the Swords of Mars miniatures rules PDF because they have 148. It says up there, so they got 4 more to do, which they haven't marked. They haven't updated anything. I mean, it's a lot more stuff. It's been miniatures, dice, extra books and stuff like that they've all unlocked, which is cool. And the project's been funded, so good for them.
Yep.
There's 3 adventure guides that are to be unlocked.
Yeah. If the book is actually going to be in the shape that it looks like it's going to be, I'm going to find that interesting.
Yeah, it's actually more on its side.
Well, also, I feel like what that book is it seems like it's more something if you back it. Rather than like the actual book, because I saw something like a cover of the book. Yeah, because they have a cover of the book.
A stunning handcrafted version of the core rulebook called Barson Edition, pictured above. The features gold design and double dark skull, metal corners, all created by a wonderful Spanish artisan. They will only be 100 of these, and each comes with a certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, because they have a different art design where they say, "Oh, this is the copy of the book," or blah blah blah. But it's like it's a different art design than that one.
Well, it's
so I feel like
yeah. Well, like looking at the stuff that they're offering, though, the book itself is still in that basically like elongated shape. It looks like. That it's like it's
like landscape instead of portrait.
Yeah, it's landscape instead of portrait, which is really interesting. I think for like an RPG book, I haven't seen one like that. Normally, they're basically standard format. You know, how many RPG books are like this format? Billions of them.
So to get the book, it's an 800-pound pledge.
Oh,
but you also get you also get a leather-bound diary and a leather dice sack.
But it's like a handcrafted like book.
It's the cover's handcrafted by a Spanish artisan.
Damn, man. They're like, if you really want a collectible about this,
this is the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, it's a little something special, but at the same time, you know.
I'm sure there's some. Well, let's actually look here. Okay, there were 8 people that really liked that idea.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If I had that kind of money, I would totally go for it because that looks epic.
Also accurate.
I mean, I am the person who bought the leather-bound D&D Game Master's Guide for 3.5 because it was leather-bound, and I already owned the DMG.
You ordered the player's handbook.
No, I have the DMG that's leather-bound, I think.
But I thought you owned one of the books and got the other one. But anyway, doesn't matter.
I don't know, man.
So yeah, but going back to the original topic, Quickstart adventure rules are available. Well, the Quickstart rules and adventure are available now. You can check them out. It's 8 days to pledge the entire thing, but that's just available. So you know, as Modifius continues, you can check out the rules. You can get an idea of them. And you can definitely actually play a little adventure in John Carter of Mars now. So, it's available.
Yeah.
All right, then why don't we move on to our normal segments, because it's that kind of time. Let's start, of course, with our Kickstarter Korner. It's our time where we go over a number of Kickstarters we've seen for the week that we haven't talked about before. We introduce you to them, talk about them a little bit, and why we think they're really cool, and maybe you should check them out for yourself. All right, why don't we start? Because I usually like to start with Wyrm. We'll start with you.
Okay. So I found a game called Isles of Terror. Paste. There we go. And this is a. It seems kind of cool. It's a board game. Sorry, I'm just like trying to like refresh on what I looked at earlier.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's basically it's got a you can choose to go either cooperative or against each other, and it also is a solo option as well. And which is kind of a neat idea. To be like, oh, you could either do co-op or competitive, and you know, you go after adventures, complete missions, and you can even raid other players. You know, the whole goal is to earn victory points, and there are like a bunch of ways to win the game, which makes me think kind of like some of those like games where it's like, oh, you know, like some of those not RTS is the but the strategy games where it's like on game where it's like you can do tech victory, you can do war victory, you know, those kind of things.
Yes.
Is what kind of makes me think of. I'm not sure how true that is. I'll be honest, they don't have their information is actually a little bit hard to follow through in a quick read through. And I assume most of that would be covered under their example play videos, which they have like how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos of like an example game, which I did not go through and watch because I did not. Well, yeah.
Well, it looks cool because it's a 1 to 4 cooperative competitive.
Yep.
And they have an available add-on of Cthulhu.
Yeah, they're planning the add-on of Cthulhu, which is, I think they're planning to do whether they get a stretch goal or not. They're just, it's just a planned add-on that they're doing eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It does say Kickstarter exclusive, though.
Yeah. 7 new adventures and components to discover the Black Rock. It's an extra $12.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, they've unlocked some of their stretch goals too, which is good for them. Cool. They're working on more of them. Got a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, it looks...
A lot of them are aesthetic updates, like making the tokens better and stuff.
Those are always good, though. Those are fun. Mm-hmm. And it looks like an interesting little, game.
Oh, wait, no, those are for higher tiers, actually.
Yeah, the Conqueror set, you get the actual, looking standing figures instead of just wood
tokens.
Pieces. Yeah.
Meeples or whatever.
Well, it's not even a meeple. It's just like a hexagon.
Well, I thought that's what they were just called. There's a meeple, a very specific thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the meeple was originally from Carcassonne, as far as I know.
It is, but at the same time, I've heard it referred to. I'm not sure how accurate this is because the people who talked about it may be wrong, but I've heard just those tokens that represent a board referred to as meeples in general.
Oh, okay.
But then again, maybe it has to be person looking, or maybe it does have to actually be specifically like that star meeple that they have. I don't know. So I don't know how accurate that is, but anyway, they have these figurines versus wooden pieces. And it does seem like it's a purchasable add-on for if you do it later. So this says Conqueror Edition versus Explorer Edition.
Yeah.
Player boards, dice, tiles, and it does say it's a new experience each time, which I think is because the tiles are randomized, kind of like Catan. These hexagon tiles which are randomized.
Yeah.
That makes the playability go up.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. Cool. Neat.
So it seems like a pretty neat game. It is funded, and it has 17 days to go.
Yep.
Sounds like a good one. All right. Joe, did you find something cool to talk about?
I found an odd one.
Okay.
It's called Crime Pays, and the link is right here.
Okay.
It seems basically like a crime version of Monopoly.
Huh.
Okay. And it was developed in prison. Which
Ironic.
I thought was kind of interesting. They even have a picture of what the original board looked like in the updates. Yeah, I'll send a link of that too, because it's kind of really funny, hand sketched out on a napkin. It almost looks like.
Well,
there's the link to that. Basically, you go around the board and you commit various crimes and try not to get caught by the police. The first one to $1 million wins. Let me go back over there. You get different tools of the trade, anything from a gun to a fake ID. Accomplices, you have heist gone bad scenarios, which you could land on that space on the board, and you have to grab a heist gone wrong scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also opt to buy/sell drugs in the game, which if you get caught by the police with drugs, it's a very bad penalty, but you can earn lots of cash, and you can even gamble at casinos for high stakes fun. It is $550 towards its $15,000 goal, but there's 47 days to go.
So it's not really that far into it.
No, and it only has 6 backers so far. But I will say the artwork they've done for it is very high quality.
It is very high quality artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
in fact, even the original board picture that you sent us kind of shows that they
really thought it out.
Yeah, they had the arc stuff kind of drawn out in that, and also it's these people weren't horrible artists.
No,
Yeah.
So I mean, I thought it was an interesting one to do just because of the story in the background
Mm-hmm.
of that it came from someone who was in prison.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Cool. So that's up now on Kickstarter if you want to check out Crime Pays, and see if you want to back it. Alright, for me, I had some trouble because there's a billion Kickstarters that are out that I could find. That's the thing, is when there's a lot of them, it becomes hard to find something really cool you want to check out and talk in particular about. But I guess there's a couple I want to give a particular shout out to anyway. Let's see here. Red Dragon Inn 7, the Tavern Crew. I love Red Dragon Inn. They're having a Kickstarter where you play as where it's a different sort of event thing. It can be combined with previous lease, but you're basically playing as the people running the tavern. So that's very neat. Since Joe has Red Dragon Inn,
Yes, and some of the expansion.
And you have one of the expansions, I think.
Yeah.
So that was cool that they're doing that. Rambo's up finally on Kickstarter. Remember Rambo? We saw it at PAX Unplugged.
Yep, I saw that in the Kickstarters.
Yeah, so they're up on Kickstarter. Cool for them. It's something that we observed. We didn't really, do anything with it, but we observed it. Let's see here. What do I want to? Well, anyone other ones I want to shout out? I'll leave that for now. Oh no, Red Shirts Volume 2, a Starfinder comedy, basically about being a red shirt. Give them that much. Red Shirt's fun. But the one I really wanted to focus on is Trinium Continuum, because it's done by Onyx Path. Thank you, Onyx Path. Yeah. The Kickstarter for it, it's from Onyx Path, basically. It's Trinity Continuum, which it is funded now. It's doubled its goal, 50,000, 25 days to go. It's I don't know a lot about Trinity Continuum to begin with, but this is a new edition of it. So it's Onyx Path, if you're not aware of, is the one that brought us back World of Darkness successfully. This is a new thing that they're, Trinity Continue. Let's try to look it up actually, so I can not talk out of my own butt.
It's not a bad idea.
It's
talking
the
out of your own
Trinity
butt?
universe. Oh, we might see a return of Aberrant.
Ooh, nice.
The Trinity universe was Adventure, Aberrant, and Trinity. This is the Trinity universe. Of course. So it's set in the year 2123. It's got superpowers, psychics, kind of weird things like that. Basically, because it's if you think of the Trinity system as the middle one, Aberrant, which I've played as, was superheroes, but it's because something's awakening in people's brains, and this is set 100 years after that. It's a cyberpunk kind of corporate espionage, post-apocalyptic a little bit, survival stories, space exploration. It's basically taking what they had established in their kind of earlier ones and taking it to a big degree. The Trinium core rules are basically foundation that they're kind of rebuilding with this. So it is technically a D10 system, or at least it was, because Aberrant was a D10 system. So if you're familiar with World of Darkness, you'll definitely be able to jump into this one. They do have present day scenarios though too, other than just continuing on their basic timeline. They basically have ways that you could use their rules in present day, which will probably be more towards what, Aberrant was, which is very cool also. And that's why it's being called the Trinity Continuum, because it's supposed to be like you could take on the various timelines. So I actually like this a lot because it's using that story path system, and it's allowing you definitely to take it. You basically could probably do a version of Aberrant with this one, I'm assuming. Maybe not the same quite way, but that'd be very cool.
Nice.
So, yeah. I'm very kind of happy to see that that's what this... I saw this, and I didn't know it was as great as it was. I found that out. Like, I'm familiar with Trinity. I've heard of that before. That'd be a cool one to talk about. Oh, wait, it's better. That's where I heard it from for.
Is it back in POG form?
It's back. In POG form. Yeah. So, do they have stretch goals? Let me see if they got any kind of stretch goals. They do. They've achieved getting out the book. And the Hidden Editions 1E PDF has been added to their digital bundle. A section of Vargas rules. They've achieved a couple of them. I think the only stretch goal they have up right now is a backer T-shirt.
Okay.
It's like 5,000 more than what they already had was the backer T-shirt. So it's sort of like it's like 3,000 for the T-shirt. So I don't know if they're going to do anything else. But if you're a fan of World of Darkness stuff and you want something a little bit less horror, I guess you could call it, this is more sci-fi adventure. Is the Trinity system, the Trinity universe. So this might be for you to check out. It uses the same really easy rule system. The D10 system is as I've said, one of the simpler character creation systems there are out there. You can check it out. I'm kind of much more excited about this then. I was a little, but now it's sort of like, ooh, nice.
Ooh,
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Wait, that's I'm sorry. That's Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Pee Wee Herman. That's
The movie.
The movie.
Ooh,
How long can that guy die?
He never did, really.
No, he didn't.
Because even at the end of the movie, he was still going, oh.
He's just sitting
And
there.
he also lost an arm early on.
Yeah, he did lose an arm early on. Good times. Good times. Cool. Yeah, and they're doing past, present, and future with the entire thing because it's a continuum. So they're basically taking the Trinium universe and putting it in one book. So I'm excited to see what they do for it. Anyway, that's the one I got for it. So unless anybody if either of you guys want to jump in on that one, because that was an interesting one I wanted to talk about a little bit.
Looks awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All
That's
right.
chilling.
Yes. Why don't we move on to our week in gaming, which I guess it technically would be weeks for Wyrm. His weeks in gaming. But because we just started with Wyrm, why don't we start with you, Joe, and you describe your week in gaming. Was it exciting at all?
Well, we had the stream on Monday, which ended up being an interesting game. What the heck? I'm trying out now. My brain. Oh yeah, Into Winter, which we
got really
kicked
lucky
butt.
on. We got really lucky with that.
Yeah, we did, but we kicked butt on it.
Yeah.
And then I lost horribly last Saturday in 2 games of Red Dragon Inn.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, one of them I was just dominating without paying attention as much because I'm like, oh, wait a second. You guys are like horribly drunk and I'm like barely affected. When did that happen?
Yeah, and the first game I ran out of money.
Mm-hmm. Look, my goal was to have you run out of money, and you did, so I won that one.
No, but you're not the one who made me run out of money.
I
My
know.
girlfriend was the one who made me run out of money by making me pay her and then making me pay my last gold as a tip to the waitress.
Look. I was attempting to assist that entire direction, so...
Which I think is hilarious that, when you run out of gold, they kick you out of the inn because you can't afford to pay anymore. And I got kicked out of the inn for tipping the waitress.
That actually is really weird. It's like, here's your tip. Thump. Out you go.
And here is a boot to your butt out the door. Maybe I placed the tip in an inappropriate place.
I can only assume.
Yeah.
I think at the time you were playing the troll. Inappropriate troll. Did we do anything else? I think that's we should do games Red Dragon Inn. And
there.
I did Bastion Frontier then. But I mean, like, Wyrm, why don't we have you talk Weekend Gaming, and then I maybe.
Yeah. So I played in a game with Just Skoink.
Mm-hmm.
She was the GM. That was fun. I made a lizard folk druid.
Ooh.
Interesting group. It was like a one-shot adventure. We still need to finish it because we only got through like about half of it. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, that was fun. I actually did a really cool thing with the Roll20 map that I had never actually thought of doing before, where basically it was a vertical map. So it showed like it was a wall that you had to scale. So she got a module basically that she was running, but it was like a side wall that you had to scale, and it's like, okay, you could climb up here, and then you can move side to side just fine, but it was on a ledge, so you couldn't really move forward and backwards. It was just this side to side movement. So they did a vertical thing, and these flying creatures could come down and up without a problem, and you had to move side to side. Whereas I thankfully prepared a jump spell so I could jump up and hit things and get to the other ledges and stuff in the middle of combat. So I was very happy about that. When I saw the ledges, I'm like, and it was time to rest at like the bottom of the ledge before we went up in the morning. I'm like, prepare jump.
You're like, I am ready for this.
Yep. So that was fun. Otherwise, Bastion Frontier.
Yes, which we went on amazing adventures, and we didn't get killed.
Yeah.
Which is always important.
Yay, no death.
Yeah, and that was fun. You guys got through my first dungeon.
Yes.
Like actual dungeon type dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
That's I mean, I literally put in a lot of effort into my RPG, into my world, to make sure there were actual dungeons that made sense. Not just for this game. This game actually, if anything, is like slightly more unique. But there's like lost civilizations and buried, dead groups and stuff that leave behind these traps and relics and stuff that you go dungeon delving for. So, it is a
it's always a good time to be a Russian ambiguous female Sverfdeblin barbarian rogue with no tact. Just says whatever comes to mind constantly.
Yep. It's fun to play those characters who basically you decide ahead of time, I'm going to do the first thing I think of, and that is my character.
Because like my backstory expanded so much with random crap I've said too. It's like I just say
I know,
something,
right?
It's like, oh, all right, that's happened now in my backstory.
Yeah.
Also, it's sort of like my random ideas. It's like I'm interested to what's going to happen with my jar of stuff. I put the pure necromantic
I know.
magic in.
Oh, I gotta figure that out. 'Cause it's like you just do things, and I'm like, well, I have to figure that out later.
Just like, ooh, experiment. This is a great idea.
Yes, experiment without any sort of
Input.
Control.
Look. High intelligence, not as much so in wisdom. We work with that.
High intelligence, low wisdom.
Better than no wisdom.
Yes, I do have more than no wisdom, but still. Much lower wisdom. Oh, you failed to sign in? What's wrong with you? Good
Might
times.
be really. Didn't have my Curse of Strahd game last week because I just wasn't feeling up to it. Gonna have that though tomorrow.
Cool.
So,
I love Curse of Strahd. It's a fun one. It was a fun one to
We're
run.
almost done. We've got like 1 or 2 games left.
Mm-hmm.
They fought Strahd already, but I talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think you did. Good times. All right. Why don't we move on to our Ask the Table segment, where you and chat can, of course, ask the table various things. If you have anything you want to ask us, inquire with us, talk about these topics and more when it comes to tabletop. Oh, look at the docket. Actually works. Consult the table. Whee!
Ooh, dockety.
I know, it's docket-rific. Hey. Mm-hmm. Good times. You can check in with us now about it. So here we go. If you have nothing for us, if you have something you want to give us at some point in time, you can email us, discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. You can leave it in the chat here, or I don't know what it is.
Not really here, because that we won't see that if you leave it in the middle of the week. But
yeah,
if you do it now, we'll see it.
Well, if you do it now, we will see it. Or if you have one for next week, you can leave it in chat while you're joining us. You can also leave it in the description when I put this up on YouTube. You can officially
ask us on Discord
or Twitter, any of us. You can try to reach us for Discord and Twitter and let us know about it. There's a lot of ways you can ask questions to us about
Act now and win a free thumbs up.
Yeah.
I gave it too early. Too many thumbs up.
Stop giving you free thumbs up, man.
No, I have too many 3 thumbs up. I gotta keep giving them away. All right, that's just
give it away until they act on it.
Anyway, but thank you everyone then for joining us. I think we're gonna probably be moving on to the end of the show. So, why don't we see who we got here with us today and where you can find them? Wyrm, we'll start with you.
I am Diamond Wyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm. You can @DiamondWyrm on Twitter. I have a Discord. The link's in my channel. And I have a YouTube where I'll eventually start posting things.
Cool.
It's now that I moved, because I've been like dreading that and it's been stressful. So, but I'm here now. Still got stuff to do, but I'm here. Yeah. Not much besides the usual, so.
Cool.
Back to you.
Yep. Joe.
I pretty much promote you.
Accurate.
As of yesterday, I'm old.
Mostly old.
I'm creeping to 40. Not happily creeping to 40.
You're fine. You got like
3 more years.
Yeah, you're not that old.
I'm surrounded by youngins. Damn youngins, get off my front lawn.
No. It's a nice lawn.
But yeah, I mean, you'll see me on Monday streams when we do board games and maybe eventually RPGs again.
Yes, hopefully soon.
And of course, you'll see me every Saturday here.
Yep. And as usual, I am Tantus Naravan Dracovin. You'll find me here daily for some kind of stream. Stream in the morning for some gaming, and then, here on various times for other various things, from multiplayer gaming to tabletop games of various types. Hopefully some more RPGs will be coming back to the show. You can also find me on my YouTube channel.
Internet security alert. Your computer might be infected by harmful...
What?
You cut out, Matt.
Well, you stopped talking.
Yeah, I stopped talking. Yahoo did something weird for me because I was on Yahoo.
Okay.
Thanks, Yahoo, for doing something weird for me. I'm going to go away from you for now. Sorry. You can find me on the Dracovin Empire on the YouTube side, where all the VODs for all the videos from my Twitch stuff go up there eventually. Plus, I have some of my scripted content, which has been a little lacking lately. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to get back to a more regular schedule of that sooner rather than later. You can also find me on my Discord, link in the description. You can find me on my Twitter if you want to contact me. If you want to support, you can always follow here. Follow any of us on our various things, from social media to following both Wyrm on here on Twitch, subscribing on YouTube. For more support, you can subscribe to any of us. That'll definitely help us out. I also have the Patreon, which helps me out. Any of these things.
One of those too.
Yep, there's some great rewards there. So anyway, thank you all for being here. We'll be each individually be back at different times throughout the week, but we'll all be back together, well, other than Monday with Tails, but on our own, we'll all be back together next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place, and we'll be back for some more Discussing Tabletop with some other great topics related to the tabletop world from RPGs, CCGs, and beyond for us to talk about and let you know about.
Ooh, I want to check out the Beyond section.
Sure. It's near the bed and bath.
Also, announcement, I will not be streaming later today, as I promised I'd help my mom prepare for her Super Bowl party tomorrow.
Always acceptable, helping out family. Anyway, all right, everyone. Thank you once again for joining, and we shall see you all later. Goodbye.
Bye.